Well, I absolutely did not expect the warm welcome from episode number one. I put out a little teaser saying, just from my desk, saying, hey, I think I'm going to start a vlog. And I think I'm going to talk about all of the things, live events, more on the technical side, because that's where I come from. But I think it's important to journal some of the things that I've done over the past 25 years to get where I got in case someone else is interested in this stuff, because there's really no roadmap to it, and there's really no set way to get into a job like this. There are college classes and there are courses, but you don't need those. And while I did go to a vocational school, as I said in episode one, and I did go to college, which we're going to talk about now, I still don't feel like you really need those. You just need experience. You need to be able to find a mentor that you trust and that you understand what they're saying is the truth, and that what they're trying to teach you is important, not only for your growth but for your safety. And then you'll be unstoppable, and that's ultimately what this is all about. So in episode one, we talked a little bit about mentors. We talked a lot about school and my feelings on that, and just kind of how I got to the decision that this is what I'm going to do when I grow up. And ultimately, Mitch from TD Garden was the one who said to me, Mark, if you want to do this, which is what I thought I wanted to do, was be in a control room my whole life, you're going to need to go to broadcast school. You're going to need to learn broadcast lingo. You're going to need to know how the systems are built, how they're designed, what things mean. Because I was still figuring out white balance. I was still figuring out Chiron. I was still figuring out engineering cameras. Like that stuff is insane if you've never seen all those buttons before. So I took Mitch's word and decided I'm going to go to my guidance counselor in school and say, just kidding, I want to go to college and I want to go to broadcast school. And I'll never forget walking into guidance and seeing Miss Schwabe from South Shore Votech and saying, this is what I want to do when I grow up. I'm a changed person and this is motivating me. And she was on board 100% and knew the right school. She essentially had a packet and all of this information for Mass Communications College in Brookline, Mass, which when I toured it with my mom was an amazing school. It still was near the end, but I feel like there was a little bit of a bait and switch, and this is just my personal opinion, mainly because when I was accepted to the school, it was Mass Communications College. When I arrived on day one, it was an art institute, and it just felt very watered down. It felt like I didn't learn anything. I did get a little bit of experience. I did get to set up cameras. I got reps, but I didn't learn anything. Everything that I used my time in that school, I had already learned at South Shore Tech. So, was it a little bit of a waste of time? No, I got the reps. Like I said, I got to build a camera kit a bunch of times. I got to get studio time. I got reps on gear. Was it a waste of money? Absolutely, absolutely huge waste of money. I don't know how schools like that continue to do what they do and just churn out semi-cooked, half-baked students into the world. Are there good ones? Yes, there are great ones. I know a lot that came out of art institutes. I know a lot. I mean, we're talking a very small percentage, but I know people that I'm very proud to say I'm alumni with there. But on the other hand, there's a lot of folks I know that didn't stay in the business at all. One of my best friends of all time that I met in college, Todd Sarnelli, got out of the business right away. I mean, we tried to start up something ourselves. Maybe I'll show it here, but we tried to start our own little company with his fiance, and we tried to do weddings, and we did a couple, and we tried to do some other things and just get into the video production world, and it worked. We made some money, and we did a lot of free stuff just to get our names out there. But I don't think anyone from my class is still in the television or radio broadcast industry. I can't say I've looked any of those folks up, but I know the ones that I was in contact with post graduation, I know they're not. So anyway, I digress. The college years for me were interesting. for many reasons. I graduated in June 20, June 2001. It's weird to not say 20 before the number. 2001 just hits the ear wrong. But I graduated in June 2001, had an excellent summer. I actually went to some pre classes for MassCom, AI New England. Um, and I was able to get certified on a lot of equipment that you don't typically get certified on until your second or third semester because I took this class. So I was able to take out the big rig cameras and a lot of things that second and third semester folks were allowed to take, and first year were not. So people already hated me for that. Um, but I also spent a lot of time preparing and getting ready for this thing called college that I think everyone puts on this pedestal and says, I'm going to have a great time. College is the best years of your life. And I liked those years. I mean, I didn't go away to college, so maybe that's the part I'm missing out on. I'm not a big party person. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not into any of that stuff. I like working. I think my wife and kids will tell you I'm pretty lame when it comes to that. I really like doing stuff. I'm constantly volunteering and constantly busy. I think if I'm not busy, something's wrong. Um, and that's what it was like in school. I was helping people with homework. I was tutoring. Everything that I did was to give back a little bit. I really like teaching, and I think that's something that I'll hopefully be able to do later in life. My retirement years, maybe I can give back in that sense. But I really did like having the ability to work with peers and help them get to a better level. Because honestly, the teachers that we had, I mean, we had one or two that were okay. My editing teacher was pretty good. I learned a lot about linear editing, which at the time was kind of dying, and that means tape to tape, and you're basically got two controllers or one controller, and you're hard cutting on tape. Sucks. We all knew that Final Cut and Avid and all these other things were kind of affordable now and around the corner. I think we got Adobe Premiere. I think we got like 2 licenses of Adobe Premiere in the edit suite, and it was absolutely ridiculous. But I digress again. College for me is where I entered trying to emulate Mitch and really trying to learn everything that I would need to know to run a control room like that. I mean, it would be great to run a control room for the Bruins and the Celtics, or the Red Sox or the Pats, but that's what I wanted to do. That's where I wanted to be. So I just became a sponge in that school, and it was not great. I'll be blatantly honest. It was not great. It's probably why I have such a sour taste on college in general, especially in a business like live events, where it's not the paper, it's the experience. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So one day, first year, it was probably a couple weeks into, I think it was just a couple weeks into my first year. If you are doing the math also, a couple weeks into my first year at school in college was September 11th, 2001. Not a great time to be doing anything. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of, where do we go from here during that time? And missed a few weeks of school, missed some classes, and it was fairly devastating to a lot of the student body. After that, we had a job fair, and I would say it was probably a month in, maybe 2 months in. We're talking 24 years ago at this point, so excuse me if my timing's a little off. But at that job fair, I was trying to find something that I could do on the side, build a little bit of a side hustle, get some experience, get some reps. And I met a fellow by the name of Dave James from Concert Sound and Lighting in Acton, Massachusetts. And I'm sure Dave was just excited to get fresh bodies, fresh meat to abuse on site. I'm not saying he abused anybody, but those are long days for an 18, 19, 20-year old who has never done anything like a concert in their life. Um, Boy, did I gain experience working for him. Great guy, completely deaf, deaf audio guy. Those are always weird. He's not actually deaf. He's just very, very hard of hearing. He might be now. It's been 20 years. Um, but I went over and I was like, hey, I'd like to apply. And he was like, no application needed. Write down your phone number and your name. I'll call you when we have a gig and you can come. What's your experience? And I was like, none. I've worked at the Fleet Center a little bit. He's like, oh, great, perfect. I mean, for the first couple shows, you're pushing cases off a truck. You're putting cases on a truck. You're doing the things that you really need to learn how to do, so that if you grow up and you grow further in the ranks of the industry, you know how to manage those people that are coming in. You know how to manage the green people like me who are coming in and don't know what to do. And you can say, go do that, go do this, go do this. Dave was great at that. He was good at giving me multiple commands. Do this when you're done with that. Do this when you're done with that. Do this. And I loved that. I loved not being micromanaged, but I also loved the ability to kind of go out and do something my way and just have him sign off on it at the end. It was really kind of freeing. So, a couple of stories. I mean, I think my first gig ever was at Songus Arena in Lowell, Massachusetts for Radio Disney. It was an absolute shit show. Um, we had I don't know anyone's names. I'm not omitting them because of anything bad. I just don't know who any of these people are anymore. I can't remember. But our LD, our board op came in. This is 2001, late 2001, probably it was Christmas time 2001 because the song that this girl sang was a Christmas song. Um, there was this moment where we were playing tracks to Radio Disney kids that, some of them lip sync to tracks, whatever. They're dancing. It's more about the dancing for a lot of these kids. And when I say kids, they're kids. Um, this isn't like adults running around. It's not like C-level pop stars. I believe there were some. I would love to know who some of these pop stars were, in case they're super famous, but I can't confirm or deny who some of them were, but I'm pretty sure they're really famous today. This group goes up and they play the wrong track, and this poor girl is basically, it's an Ashley Simpson moment. We've already heard this song. The wrong vocals are playing, and she's kind of like, I don't know what to do. We caught it really fast. It's not like the Saturday Night Live moment where it just went for an ungodly amount of time before someone decided to pull it. We pulled it pretty quick, but there was 15 seconds of dead air up there with a bunch of kids on the floor and, all this stuff happening. And there's just all mayhem breaking out at front of house. I was running Spotlight, this gigantic big boy Lycian that was humongous Spotlight. And our board op for the show forgot to bring these adapters for his console. So none of the moving lights worked, which was fantastic. So all the movers had to be done manually by guys with spotlights. So I had to do all these ballyhoos with this giant spotlight. I wanted to die at the end of the day. But anyway, this thing happens. This poor girl's on stage. They kill the track. Her producer or manager or parent is fighting with our team at front of house. I presume Dave was probably the front of house guy. And they're just going at it, and they're, pointing and screaming and yelling. And there might have been a neck grab or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this true pro on stage, she couldn't have been 13, starts playing to the crowd after about 10 seconds of dead air. And she says, how's everybody doing? Holidays are coming, blah, blah, blah. And while this fighting is going on, she sings an a cappella version of Oh Holy Night that blew the doors off the building. No backing track, no music, just her voice. And that place, she tore the house down. By the time that song was over, we were ready for the next track. Everything moved on like nothing happened. The audience probably didn't know what happened. It was, we were all on comms. We heard all the drama. We heard everything that was going on. It was so fast that little kids probably didn't really realize what was happening. But she was such a pro. And that's a moment that sticks out for me. It was my first gig ever, and all this drama is happening, and that happens. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm still shocked by it. After that show, Dave continued to call me. I was a good worker. I mean, I pushed cases and I'd set things up. And if I didn't know how to do something, I would ask. And I think he appreciated that, so that I didn't blow up any of his gear. And then he'd put me with a lot of the same guys so that I would understand how stuff worked. And it was a great experience. We probably worked on 30 or 40 shows over 2 years that I freelanced for Dave, and a lot of concerts, a lot of clubs, couple arenas, couple malls. But it was an absolutely amazing experience, a good chance to get reps, good place to learn how to do it all in a day, when to take your breaks, when to eat, and when to speak up, when to ask questions. Not every moment is a great place to do it, but there are good times where you can say, "Hey, what is this? What is that? Can I shadow you? Can I watch you tune this room?" And there you'll come across people who are like, "Absolutely not." They make a good rate, and they don't need competition. But rising tide raises all ships, my friends. The more of us that are out there doing a good job are making a better name for the rest of us and making the work easier. I just don't see the mentality in saying, "No, I'm not going to show you because you're going to take money away from me." It's not going to happen. I'm still going to call the person that's really good, but I might make the new guy, the green guy, a utility a few times, or an assist. I just don't get that mentality. So that's pretty much it from college. I did not graduate from AI New England, Art Institute of New England. I got through my second semester, and when it was time to come back, all the classes that I had signed up for, mostly engineering, I wanted to know how everything worked. I didn't necessarily want to waste time with classes that were how to do certain things if I didn't know how the things worked. So I got into a lot of broadcast engineering classes. I got into studio operations. Like, I picked all these classes. And when I showed up to the registrar's office to get my schedule and kind of make sure all your payment information is correct, my schedule had 2 classes on it. Neither of them were broadcast related. One was like creative writing, was your English class, and one was like philosophy. And I said, "What's up with this? Where'd all my classes go? Did I not sign up in time?" And they said, "No, every single one of those classes got removed from the schedule because wasn't enough interest." And I was shocked by that. Not enough interest. You offer the class. Like, if 2 people take that class, you got to give that class. Otherwise, what are we doing here? What is this degree for? If you're going to give out a television broadcasting degree and those people know how to turn on a camera, how to point it at something, but they don't know how to troubleshoot anything, or they don't understand what signal is or anything like that. Now, maybe that's just me wanting to be a live events guy, but I've just felt like that was a sin that could not be recovered for me. And I left. I said, "That's it. I'm done." And I withdrew, and I was bummed because a couple of my friends that I had made were still going, and they were doing great, and they graduated. Like I said earlier, none of them really stayed in the industry. I don't think that school taught them enough. And I'm not trying to knock art institutes, but I just don't think they prepared anybody for a real job. There's going to be a lot of retraining happening once you got out. And I think a lot of people weren't comfortable with that, so they just got out of the biz. So I took that time to, like I said before, get my reps, get some studio time, build a camera chain as many times as I can, um, call cameras, direct shows, get that experience while I'm there because I'm paying for it. And I'll never forget one of the things on my list of stuff I wanted to blurt out here in this vlog. I've got a whole list of things to talk about that I was going to split up into multiple episodes and shorts and stuff like that. This is just kind of set up as a confessional right now. So one of the things on here is family, and this ties into college because I wasn't really sure if my family understood what it is that I wanted to do or how I was going to attain it. I still don't think they fully understand what I do, and I don't mean my wife or my kids. They kind of get it, but my parents, my grandparents, I don't think they really saw it. Um, until I started to do some kind of freebie freelance work, my grandfather started to notice that this was something um, that I could do and something that I could make something of. And um, one of the stories from the college years is I went to Studio Ops, which was the location in the school where you go get all your equipment. If you're a TV broadcast student, you get your cameras there, your tripods, your change, your preview monitor, your chains, your preview monitors, your cabling, your microphones. You get all that stuff from there. If you're doing ENG records, you get all that stuff from there. If you're doing studio stuff, you just rent the studio. All the gear's already in there, and you can use it. And for like the third time that I had to drive into school at whatever time at night, because that's when this gear was available, I show up, it's probably the third time, fourth time. It's not ready. It's not available. And I had a project due. I think for, 60 or 70 kids, they had 4 cameras, full, real broadcast cameras. They had a bunch of these little dinky mini DV cameras, but those weren't for the broadcast kids. That was for the media kids. So I was SOL a few times, and I'd have to not rent. I would have to borrow cameras, just plain old VHS-C camcorders from friends. My friend, Kelly Dion, who lived a couple of houses down from me, her mom had a VHS camcorder, and I needed that a few times to do projects. And I'd have to go over and say, hey, I know you have a camera. I have a project due. Can I borrow it? And she would, no problem. She'd let me borrow it. And I think that started to piss my grandfather off, my grandparents off, because I said, for the third time I've gone to Studio Ops to get a camera that I booked that wasn't there because some jerk didn't return theirs on time. And they said, well, that's it. We're going to buy you a camera. And let's make sure it's a good camera. Let's make sure it's going to be the quality you need and that it's slightly future-proof, as much as can be. The timing there was all bad because we bought a brand new shiny Canon XL1S. Amazing camera. Anyone that knows me from the college years into the first couple years that I was with PSAV, I carried that camera with me everywhere. I even brought it to some concert sound and lighting gigs just to document what I was doing. I don't know where those tapes are, so don't ask. But they invested about $7,000 in me for the case and the camera and the lens and the audio hookups and all the pieces that went to a camera chain, so that I could do what I like to do, not just for school, not just to get a good grade, but so that I could start doing work. And I think I respect that, and I appreciate that more than they'll probably ever know. They're both gone now, but I tried to make it a point to let them know how much I appreciated them believing in me. I mean, everybody really believed in me. My mom and dad did. Like I said, I don't think they understood it, but my grandparents definitely didn't understand it, but they knew that, I think they saw a spark and they knew that I would be good at this. Um, so, from there, my grandfather got me some good gigs. I did some promotional videos for some of his friends that did. I remember these Arms Incorporated videos for the company that makes the stock on the end of weapons. He was a big weapons guy. Um, and we'd go to these pits and they'd fire off all these guns, and I'd take all this B-roll and assemble it into a trade show booth video with music and voiceover, and that stuff was awesome. I was 19 years old, doing this cool stuff with a top of the line camera. Um, and the Hanson Rod and Gun Club machine gun shoots got to be real popular. We filmed those um, over the span of a day, and I would condense it all down to just the shooting, and people bought that. I don't know why. If YouTube was a thing in 2001, 2002, um, I, man, if I had the tools now that we had then, and I didn't have to print everything to VHS or mini DV tape, it would be very different for me. I think there'd be a lot more content available out there than what we have now. I don't even know where half my tapes are. I know I saved them, but I've moved a few times. I think they're gone, which is a shame. But um, having family believe in you, um, having family say, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to invest in your success. That really hit home for me, and um, and that made the college experience a lot better for me anyway. All right, so my son is completely gone, and we're just working with hotel room light at this point. I think I'll wrap it up. I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm very excited to see what people think about the insight that I have into this industry and what has gotten me here. I'm very excited to shout out from the rooftops names of people that have been a big help. I tagged John Mitchell in the last video on LinkedIn, and I'm glad he got to see it. He left me a nice message on LinkedIn, and I feel like people need to know that they definitely, even if they only helped one person in their entire life, that one person matters. So here I'm happy to say, Dave James, you were great. Those were some chaotic events that we worked together, and I definitely don't want to do those types of events anymore. I'm far too old and beat up for those kind of 20-hour days with only a couple of stagehands and not an extra day to sleep and make up for it. But you were a great mentor for me, and I feel like I definitely think you deserve the shout out. And I don't know if you'll ever see this. I don't know how in tune you are with technology and social media. I've not talked to you in a very long time, but I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you did for me and getting me where I am, and being one of the best parts of college, other than some of the friends that I made. And ultimately, this is the big market tease, ultimately leading me to the career path that I would have for almost 20 years and really get me to where I am today, doing what I'm doing. That will be episode 3. So thanks, everyone. Hopefully this means something to somebody. Hopefully this helps somebody. If you have any questions, shoot me a message, leave a comment. I'm more than happy to respond and point you in the right direction and connect some dots for you. Thanks.